Sure, yes. I mean, so yesterday, Arif Naqvi, who is the founder of Abraaj Group, which was once the Middle East's biggest buyout firm, it had nearly 14 billion of assets under management at its peak. Yesterday, lawyers said that Naqvi reached an out-of-court agreement with one of his creditors who actually had filed a bounce check case against him. Now, obviously, in the UAE, issuing a check with insufficient funds is a criminal offence. So this is obviously very good news for Naqvi that it's been settled, and it's also very good news for his creditor. However, this is the main reason the news is significant is that obviously Abraaj was until recently one of the biggest firms. And it's actually unravelled since February when it started facing allegations of mismanagement of investors' funds. This ended up spiralling completely out of control. And it's now in provisional liquidation in the Cayman Islands. It's trying to pay down an estimated 1 billion of debts at the moment. So obviously the bounce check case is a personal case against Naqvi. It's legally not got to do with the actual Abraaj Group or its provisional liquidation. But the thing is, it did actually disrupt the provisional liquidation procedures, or at least it threatened to do so, because obviously if the founder is facing criminal allegations and criminal proceedings, then of course, he can't actually take part in the restructuring, and potential buyers of parts of the business could well be sort of spooked and lose confidence.
And Sarah, what happens next in terms of the situation with the government in the UAE? Because there have been a lot of questions about whether or not the DIFC courts should have gotten involved here very, very early on. We understand, of course, that they were investigating, but we didn't really hear much from them after that. A lot of folks have said to me in particular, why is it that they haven't gone harder on this situation with Abraaj, just to make a show of it that, companies like this cannot operate in that way in this region?
Well, I think taking the bounce check case first, when looking at whether sort of next steps for that and whether that is over now, it was looking initially a couple of days ago, yes, there was some reports in various media that actually, jail time had been handed out. That has actually now been superseded by these new statements about an out-of-court settlement. Now, this is actually, this looks to be the end of it, because over the last 2 months, over this bounce check case, actually, both parties had persistently said that there were talks of an out-of-court settlement, but the other party, the claimant, had sort of said, no, it hasn't happened yet. So the very fact that actually yesterday the claimant's spokespeople issued a formal press release saying that that was it and the settlement had been reached, does suggest that this is now, the end for certainly that side of the proceedings. However, of course, at the same time, we do have this provisional liquidation. In terms of how the sort of authorities have been dealing with it, I mean, it remains to be seen. Clearly, what this case does is throw up huge and very important questions of corporate mismanagement and transparency. In the UAE, but also beyond. I mean, private equity across the whole world, the industry has suffered a slowdown in recent years, mainly due to the sort of global economic slowdown in sort of general growth. And it has been harder for private equity operators to raise funds.
Sarah, on that point, I mean, do you think there is a concern
I think that
I was just going to say, do you think there is a concern that more private equity firms will come under greater scrutiny, or is the feeling out there that most of what took place here is very isolated, tied only to the Abraaj Group?
I think that this is certainly uncharted waters for the region. I mean, we're talking about the biggest private equity firm in the Middle East. The Middle East is, of course, one of the most affluent emerging markets. So certainly the spotlight has really been shone on this. But you could also argue that the same sort of situation could have happened in any other market or any other jurisdiction.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.